Hey there and welcome. This is Derrick Evens. That is me. And this is the smarter way to buy a home in San Diego, what I'm calling an insider's guide to owning a piece of America's finest city. You can see my NMLS number right there, 155010. About me, in case you don't know me, haven't seen me on TV or heard me on the radio, I'm a longtime consumer advocate, a big seeker of the truth. I'm a licensed loan officer, a local real estate expert. I've hosted radio and television shows here in San Diego for quite some time. A lot of HGTV-ish type shows, home and garden oriented, and real estate. I've helped thousands of people in my years on the radio and on television, and I am a servant of Jesus, the Messiah, our Christ. And he told us to love thy neighbor, which what he meant when he said that was to serve thy neighbor. And I now serve people by providing information around the purchasing of real estate and investment in real estate. So let's get to the steps. And no, not the Spanish steps in Rome, but this is the prettiest picture I've seen of them because there's no one there. But the actual steps involved in the smarter way to buy a home in San Diego. So step number one, we need to choose a strategy. I'll go through those with you today. Number two, determine capacity. We have to get very specific with this. We have to get granular with this. I'll tell you about the things that you need to do in order to not just determine capacity, but understand what you're trying to determine when you're looking at capacity. You have to outline your priorities. This is super important. I'm going to show you a specific way to do that so that you can execute well. Selecting a realtor, super important piece of the puzzle. Huge. I'll show you how to do that. Then you got to shop for homes. These are the steps, right? You choose a strategy, determine capacity, you outline your priorities, you select a realtor, then you shop for homes. Then you're going to write offers when you find homes that you love, and ultimately go through the escrow process so that you can become a homeowner. So let's start off with strategy. What is the goal? What are you trying to do here in buying a home? Well, there's 4 options: short-term investment, long-term investment, long-term residence, or flip. Most people watching this video are not looking to flip a house. So we can kind of take that one off of the table. Now, short-term investment, this would be someone who says, you know what, I'm going to buy a home in this particular area right here because I know I've gone to the city planner. By the way, they plan these things out 10, 15 years in advance. Gone to the city planner. I know that they're investing in this school right here. They're going to spend $10 million rebuilding this school, and it's going to make, maybe these 2 schools, and it's going to make this area much better. It's going to make the school rating go up, which is going to make property values go up. And I may only be in San Diego for 3, 4, 5 years, but I think this is going to be a great investment for me. I think I'm going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. That'd be a short-term investment. Long-term investment would be, hey, I'm going to buy this property and I'm going to have it for a long time. Maybe I'll live in it for a little while. Maybe I won't, but I'm going to plan on having it for a long time. And I want to therefore make sure that it makes sense financially, both right now and 5 years from now, and 10 years from now, and 15 years from now. Long-term residence. This is what most people who are watching this video will be doing with their real estate goals, is finding a long-term residence, or what I call a hedge. When you buy a home, the goal, the purpose, is to actually own it eventually. The whole reason for wanting to own a home is so that you can retire comfortably. If you own a home free and clear, people retire at a much higher rate. We are seeing people have mortgages for much, much longer now, up in the 70s and their 80s, and people are retiring much, much later now, and the two are directly correlated. So owning a home free and clear is the safest and securest way for people to retire. Both of my parents did this in the last couple of years, paid off their homes, and they retired shortly thereafter, very comfortably. So that's the real goal. And with a long-term residence, or what I call a hedge, right? Because when you buy a house, you're getting a payment. You make that payment for 30 years, and then you don't have a payment anymore. It doesn't matter if property values go up. It doesn't matter if rents go up. You're hedging. You're saying, this is my cost. I'm hedging this in for 30 years, and then I'm done. And so the sooner we can get that clock ticking, obviously, the better. So that's what most people are going to be. Now, you need to determine which one of these you are. It's very important because the type of home that you buy can be affected by what your strategy is. So you must choose a strategy. Next, determine capacity. You could also say, determine how much I can afford. That's another way to look at it. Capacity tells you what you're pre-approved for, but there's more to it than that. So what can we really afford? If we look at what we're pre-approved for, a lot of times I can pre-approve people for a lot more than what they're comfortable with paying. However, when you get down to the nitty-gritty in the house buying process, and you look at this house over here and you go, well, it's only $350 more a month, and it has everything we could ever want. I think it's worth it. Let's both cut out Starbucks and make it happen. So you need to really look at what can you really afford. And then if you find something that's beyond that, you need to determine where you're going to make sacrifices. How much do we qualify for? This is an important number. You don't want to flirt with this number too much. You don't want to, if you qualify for $665,000, you don't want to be writing an offer for $665,000. You don't. Because one little thing changes and now you can't qualify for that much. Let's say now you only qualify for 661. So you either got to come out of pocket with that $4,000 or you lose the deal. Maybe even lose your earnest money. So it's important to know what you can afford, what you can really afford, to start there and then determine how much you qualify for. Do not do this the other way around. Do not go get qualified and then start looking at stuff that costs that much. It's the wrong way to do this. You'll end up spending too much money. By the way, this is such an in-depth topic that I did an entire video that's called How to Get the Lowest Possible Mortgage Rates. A lot of people at this point will be saying, well, my financing, my capacity, it's not how much I'm pre-approved for. I want to see where I can get the lowest possible rates. I did an entire video on that. My organization, which is designed to get you the best terms, no fees, lowest rates, we call it credit union interest rates with the mortgage banking experience, is designed to get you the lowest rates. How is that done? How could that be? And how does that work? So I had to do a whole video on this because it is a complex topic, but it will show you how this all works if you want to check it out. Be careful out there too while we're on this topic. This is actually a quote I recently saw that was given to someone who, fortunately for them, ended up coming to me, and you can see how quickly these things add up. This isn't even a total at the bottom. That $7,700, that's actually the loan discount points itself. The total in lender fees was really high. Discount points, however, go towards the interest rate. So that's not something to be too alarmed about. You can't fudge that anymore. People used to, but you can't now the way it's set up. But the other fees, processing, underwriting, blah, 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 blah. So many of these fees are just egregious and unnecessary. Also, keep a close eye. Get a quote from a lender. Look at the note rate versus the APR. They shouldn't be very far apart. If they're drastically different, like 4% is the note rate, then I'm expecting the APR to be like 4.31 or something like that. If you're getting a really good deal, then as far as no charges from the bank, like you would with me, or from your lender, like you would with me, then you're going to see that APR is really close to the note rate because the difference is just the amount of lender charges that there are, and they amortize it out to an interest rate. So, down payment. How much do you have to put down? Most people ask me, well, how much do I need to buy a house in San Diego? Well, right now with the median hovering around $600,000, you're going to need at least $20,000 in the bank, pretty much. Unless you're VA, if you qualify, if you're a veteran, you qualify for a VA loan. We get people into homes all the time without even having any money out of pocket. So for anyone who's not a VA eligible borrower, you're looking at about $20,000 minimum, and that's doing an FHA loan or a conventional loan with 3 to 3.5% down. And this is what I mentioned earlier. Will we need to make sacrifices? By the time you've determined, you start with what can we really afford, then you see what you qualify for. You might say, well, we can really afford something that's around $500,000. We qualify for $600,000. How much do we have for a down payment? Now we've determined those things. Will we need to make sacrifices is the next thing that you want to determine in your capacity. You can do that, in a number of different ways, but to make it simple, look at what sacrifices can you make and just sort of put those in your back pocket. Like, hey, if we really needed to save some money per month, how could we do that? Are there any subscriptions that we're using? Is there any bad habits that we have? Is there any, do we have an extra car or a motorcycle or something that's just laying around that we're paying $350 a month for? Where are the things that we could sacrifice? I want you to make a list of those things and just keep that in your back pocket because that might come in really, really handy at some point. The other thing, when you're determining capacity and you're going through this process, are we all on the same page? This is really important. You, your spouse or co-signer, your realtor, your lender, everyone needs to be on the same page because, like I said, if you really said, hey, we really can only afford $500, that's really where we feel safe, but you qualify for $600, and I tell your agent that, then your agent is going to start showing you houses that are $600. That's just how it works. So, my suggestion would be, if possible, make sure everyone is on the same page. Open communication can really, really help with that. All right, now we're going to outline priorities. This seems to be like a simple thing, but most people do this the wrong way. So I'm going to give you a very specific way to do this that's really simple and also really effective. Okay, so outlining priorities. First of all, what do we need? I have a feeling that would come up there. What do we need? These are the part of the reason why you're doing this. What do we need? We need a bigger yard for the dogs, or we need a yard for the dogs. We've got them in this condo. We need a third bedroom for the kids. We need an office for mom's she works from home. There's things that you need. Like, these are the reasons, some of the reasons why you're buying. Write those down. These are needs, okay? Needs. Then you'll make a list of wants. Hey, it would be great if we could also have a garage. It'd be terrific if, we had room, extra parking because we like to entertain. It would be great if we had a open concept, or whatever those things are. That they're not things that you need, but they're things that you really want. That is something that you want to kind of get the difference between the two. What's a need and what's a want? And by the way, you're going to give all this stuff to your realtor, and it's going to make their job in communicating with you the properties that fit your needs much, much easier. Then you create a wish list. Okay, the wish list is things that you don't need, and maybe you want them, but they may seem crazy. Like, hey, we would love a pool if we could get one, or we'd love a single story, but we know it's probably not going to happen. These are things that may seem crazy, but things that you would also like in a perfect world. They may seem just impossible, but go ahead and make that wish list. Because if you give these things to your agent in this form, here's our needs, here's our wants, here's our wish list, they will try to do all of it for you. They will try to fulfill things on your wish list. You just have to make sure that you communicate it to them. Also, while you're outlining priorities and you're making these lists, make sure you identify the locations that work for you. So take a close look at the map and go, all right, these are the areas that make sense for us. You can easily do that now, Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com, and look at schools, and you can go on great schools and search that way too. Look for locations that work for you and make note of those. Not just the ones that are ideal. Put them in order though. Hey, this is our first choice community. This is our second choice community. Look at all the locations that work for you. A lot of times people will say, oh, we're open to location if we find the right house. Do not fall into that trap. Do not fall into the trap of we're open to wherever if we can get the right house. Because the house eventually will become normal to you. No matter how cool it is when you buy it, it will become normal. This will become home. But that drive or that commute or whatever that's not so great about that location will eventually wear you down. It will break you down unless you're stronger than me. So make sure you know what locations you're looking in to begin with. And if you see a great house in a location that isn't one of those, it's okay to pass. It's okay to pass and be patient if you can. I'm going to tell you about the buyer triangle. This is something I actually do a seminar about, and it's for the real estate industry, because what happens to a lot of buyers is they get caught in this triangle of, okay, here's where we are now. This is our current situation, and we're choosing between staying where we're at, buying the house that we want, that's not in the location that we want, or buying the location that we want, but it's not the house that we want. I'll give you one guess as to what the answer is almost every single time. Real estate is about what? Location, location, location. Correct. Now, if in the location that you want, you can't get a house that works, in other words, it doesn't meet your needs, then you have to go for the house that you want, right? You don't have choice at that point. But if you can get the house that meets your needs in the location that you want, that's a no-brainer. It's got to happen. Even if this house over here that's in the house you want portion of the triangle right now is unbelievably amazing, go with location if it's possible. All right. So selecting a realtor. Oh, this is another one that I've made a specific video about just by itself. It is so, there's so many intricacies to this, especially for cold doing this. So if you want to check that one out, just search my channel for how to select a realtor in San Diego real estate, and I'll go through very detailed how to do that. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to kind of hit some highlights. So referrals are best. So if you have a friend who recommended an agent to you, that is best, but be careful. Don't just take a referral. you need to make sure they transacted, because someone will refer you their friend who's a great friend of theirs who happens to be a realtor. They'll refer that person to you all day. But did they actually buy a house from them? Did that person sell a house for them? Do they even know if they're good at it? They like them, they're friends, but did they transact? So always ask that first. When someone refers you an agent, just say, how many homes have you bought or sold with them? If they say, oh, I haven't, but they're my friend, but no, that's not good enough. You need better than that. And also, if they did transact, do they have similar goals? If your friend refers you an agent that helped them buy a house in Oceanside and you are trying to sell a home in Alpine, then you don't really have similar goals. So whatever their experience was won't necessarily transfer through. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be an exact experience, but just ask, do you have similar goals that they did? So that when you look at whether it's a good fit for you or not, you can sort of line those things up. Remember, your friends who are realtors, that's okay. A lot of people are afraid to use their friends that are realtors, which you shouldn't be, because a realtor friend of yours is like having someone on the inside. I mean, it's like an inside advantage. Just make sure that that's not all there is to it. Okay, so if they're your friend and they're a realtor, it's okay to use them, but don't use them just because they're your friend. Use them because you've seen them do amazing things. Use them because you've heard about the things that they've done. Use them because they have great reviews and they're your friend. Don't use them just because they're your friend. So remember, I made an entire video on this. It is a really important decision. Whoever your realtor is can literally make or break your experience and your success when buying a home. So this is a really important one. And the video is called How to Select a Realtor in San Diego Real Estate. Just search for that on my channel. All right, shopping for homes, that's the next step. This is the fun part, right? This is where you get out and you're like, oh man, this is great. I like this, I like that. I hate this, I hate that. Nothing more fun than shopping for homes. It really is a magical experience. If you're a first-time home buyer, you will just love this process. Even if you walk into a few duds, we're like, oh my goodness, what is going on? That's good, because you still need to see where the market is. You still need to understand the market. So you can start, of course, and you should start online so that you can learn the market. You learn the market more and more and more as you go through this process, but you start off online. This will help you gauge, some pricing, how quickly things are moving. It's very easy to do. You can do it anytime from the comfort of your own home, so there's no reason not to. Do not go look at homes unless you're ready to pull the trigger. People will say, well, we're going to go start looking now. We don't want to buy for another 6 or 8 months. That is completely pointless. The market 6 or 8 months from now will be completely different than it is today. And you may as well wait. Wait until it's closer to the time where you're actually going to be ready to pull the trigger. Get pre-approved so your pre-approval is live and hot. That's where we're determining capacity, right? Some people call that pre-approval. You determine your capacity, get your pre-approval letter, and then you go out and look at properties. Don't do it before that, because what will happen is you'll fall in love with the property, you won't be able to get it, and you'll be really discouraged by that. And there's no reason to do that to yourself. It's really a waste of time if you're not going to be looking at homes that you can be ready to pull the trigger on, because like I said, the market changes so quickly in San Diego. Prepare a list of questions. These questions could be, does it have HOA fees? Does the home have air conditioning? Has someone ever died in this property? That's a good question to ask the realtor. They have to answer that if you ask. Now, they have to disclose to you if someone died there the last 3 years. They have to disclose that in the notes. But you can ask, if you ask, has someone ever died in this property, they have to tell you. So that's a question that you always want to ask. And take notes. When you go into these houses, a lot of times they'll have a printout. Sometimes they'll be out of them. Make sure you bring your own notepad, collect the printouts, and then correlate the two. So in your notepad, you might circle, for the first property to go look at, make a big 1 on the first page of the notepad, and then on the corresponding flyer, make a big 1 on that one as well. That way you know what the notes are for. Take notes. You'll be surprised how many times when you go and look at just 5 or 6 properties, you'll be like, oh yeah, that one. What was the deal with that one again? Oh, you won't remember. You won't remember walking through it. All you remember is how it made you feel. You won't remember the details. So take notes, the things you like, the things you don't like. And trust me on this one, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you don't realize this, but you will know when you walk into the one. You'll know because it'll get quiet. You'll kind of start going, man, is this it? I mean, you'll kind of be blown away. You will know. If someone has to talk you into it, then it's probably not the one. So just know that you will know when you are in the right one. And when you get that feeling, start moving quickly. The San Diego market is very quick. It's very competitive. When you feel it, when you know it's the one, go. All right, we're talking about writing offers next. Okay, so you found it. Hey, I've got it. I've got the one. I've got my pre-approval. Time to write an offer. First of all here, listen to your agent. This is their time to shine. Opening the doors and telling you about the properties was not really their time to shine. It can be, but really this is what you're paying them for. And when you're buying a house, the seller is actually paying them. That's such a great thing. But this is what they're getting paid for. Negotiate on your behalf. They're getting paid so that they can help you negotiate a deal. So when you're writing offers, you need to listen to your agent. Even if they're saying something that you kind of disagree with, trust me, way more often than not, you're better off listening to them at this point. Really listen to them. If you don't, you may have to lose one or two, and that's okay as well. For some people who are more hard-headed like me, you're going to have to lose a house or two, which means you're not going to listen to your agent. You're going to write your offer. You're going to think, oh, well, certainly they'll take it. I mean, we're making this great offer. And then they won't take it. And then you'll be heartbroken and going, well, gosh, how much did we miss it by? 5,000 or 8,000? I mean, why didn't we just write it for 5,000 or 8,000 more? I mean, it changes the payment $6 a month. Who cares? But it'll be too late. So, when you get to that point, when you've lost one or two, just remember to stay encouraged and just learn from the lessons if you have to learn them that way. A bigger earnest money deposit does speak volumes. Listing agents will tell you this. When people write $1,000 EMDs, it's silly. Also, keep in mind when you write the offer, you don't send a check with it. You wait until they accept the offer, and then you have a certain amount of days to get them the EMD. So, you will want to be prepared to actually write the check and have the money in the bank, but you don't write the check on the day that you write the offer. Now, if your agent is super aggressive, they might say, give me the check. I'm going to walk this offer in, and I want the check to be with it. That would be super aggressive. It would be cool, but they're not going to deposit it until the offer is accepted and escrow is opened. Use of a cover letter is something that a lot of good agents are doing. They're basically saying, let me take a picture of you or you and your family, or you and your dog, you and your kids, whatever it may be, and I'm going to send this in to the seller saying, this is our family, we would like to buy your home. And that can work really, really well. Also, your lender should be contacting the listing agent. Any one of my clients who writes an offer, I'm calling the listing agent, and I am telling them how strong of a borrower you are. I'm telling them what your situation is. I'm trying to create a relationship with them, let them know that I will be available during the process, that I'm easy to speak with, I can communicate well with them. And listing agents like that. So sometimes, you get in a situation where there's two offers that are very similar. If you're in that situation, you want to win that. And sometimes it's little things like a cover letter or a communication from the lender that can make that happen. And just remember too, this is only the beginning of the negotiation process. You have your contingency period, your due diligence time, if you will, where you still get to check things out and make sure that it's all good. So remember, you're just beginning the negotiations here. You haven't actually committed to any of this yet. Even your EMD is still totally safe until you get through that 17-day contingency window. So there's time still beyond here. All right, now the escrow process. A lot of people think it's just a whole bunch of paperwork, and it's true. There's a lot of paperwork. You got to bring a lot of paperwork to the process. A lot of paperwork needs to be signed by you during the process, and that is totally okay. But this is the main stuff that you need to know about when you're going through the escrow process. It's mostly around this due diligence period. Everything else should be taken care of by your lender, your escrow company, your title company should handle all this stuff. During that due diligence period, you have the opportunity to check the house out and make sure you want it. And you have a bunch of different ways that you can back out. So use it. First thing on that list is hire a good inspector. I like the San Diego Real Estate Inspection Company. I know the guy who owns it. His name is Philippe Heller. He is amazing. He's a technology savant. They have incredible technology at this company. They will go in and they will inspect the heck out of that home for you. They'll make sure that if there's anything wrong with it that can be seen during an inspection, they will notify you of it, and that will help protect you in your purchase. And remember, you pay for the inspection, so it is your inspector. I would not let the agent choose the inspector here. You choose the inspector. You choose the San Diego Real Estate Inspection Company. Make sure you have a good one. Remember, you can renegotiate if you need to. Hey, let's say you go in there, the inspector finds some stuff. Hey, there was water damage over here. There's termites here. There's this, there, that. Don't just go, well, shame. This house was so pretty. We thought it was great. Houses have stuff, especially if they've been around for a while. And there's not a lot of new construction in San Diego, so your house probably going to have some stuff. This is where you can renegotiate. You figure out how much it's going to cost. Let's say it costs $8,000 to fix all this stuff. You want to be compensated for your time as well. You ask them for a $10,000 credit. You renegotiate. Hey, I know we offered you $575. We're going to make it $565 now. You can do that. It's totally okay. You can renegotiate at any point there prior to the end of the due diligence period. And here's one thing that I'll just tell you. Back out if it feels wrong. Don't back out if you have buyer's remorse. There's a difference. Buyer's remorse is when you buy something and you keep thinking to yourself, well, what if something better comes along? What if we go home tonight and we log in, or you're in contract and you're still going home and looking at homes on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com? That you're just trying to give yourself a case of buyer's remorse. Don't do that to yourself. What I mean is back out if it feels wrong. If you feel like people aren't telling you the truth, if you feel like something just isn't right, if you can't picture yourself in that home but you thought you could, maybe you find out there's something that's wrong with it and it really bothers you and you didn't find out what it was. If it doesn't feel right, you can back out. It's okay. Make sure you leave some cushion for your move. A lot of people are trying to move out of one house on the same day they're moving into the other one. Don't do that. Especially, if you're a first-time buyer, let's say you're not selling a house, you're renting, give yourself a week. If you're selling your other house to buy, try to give yourself a week, at least a few days, because things can happen. Closings can get delayed. Fundings can get delayed. You don't want to be stuck in a moving truck. So give yourself some cushion, at least 2 or 3 days, a week if you can. That would be wise. All right, here's some reminders. Number 1, capacity, aka budget, is crucial to understand and to follow through the process. Make sure you are always keeping this in mind, not just in the beginning when you're getting your pre-approval or determining capacity, as I like to call it, but throughout the process. Number 2, choosing a realtor could be a big difference maker in the outcome of your home buying circumstance. So take it very seriously. I made a specific video just on that. And remember, you are protected, but only up to a point. So up to that point during the due diligence period, you're protected, but past that, you're not. Your EMD, or your earnest money deposit, is at that point potentially up for grabs if you get past the due diligence period. So you need to know where you're protected up until, and do not be afraid to back out if it doesn't feel right. This is really important. So find out more what this is about. What are people doing to win in the San Diego home buying process? So I'm just going to tell you right now. At this point in time, they're more prepared. Time and preparation is time well spent when it comes to this stuff. You're more prepared, meaning that you've determined capacity. You've used some of the schematics that I've given you here. Everyone who wants to sit down and do a consultation about home buying and to get pre-approved, I walk through all the things that people are doing to win during that particular marketplace, because it can change. Certain things work sometimes, certain things work better at other times. They're less emotional. This is very difficult to do, but most bad decisions I've seen were made when emotion was at the forefront. So, being less emotional and just trying to say, hey, let's make a smart decision here, and then be emotional once you get into the home. Walk in and cry the entire first week you're there if you want to, but try not to be too emotional prior to, because that's where bad decisions are made, where people end up paying too much and making mistakes, and just lots of bad things happen. So, and also they work with a great team. Your realtor matters. Your lender matters. I'm obviously biased toward myself and the way I communicate and the way I execute from a lending standpoint. I have, a dozen or so realtors I feel the exact same way about, who are absolutely unbelievably amazing. That stuff is a big difference maker in your outcome. So working with a great team will always help. I know I'm not going to do everyone's loan, and I know there's probably even some people who are in lending who are watching this trying to learn something. That's great. I don't expect to, but I want everyone to be armed with the information that they need to succeed, because at the end of the day, that is the service, me in service of you. That's what it's all about. So don't hesitate. Call or text me, email me if you want. I put my personal information up there. just to make it easy. Make sure that it always works for you. These videos can last online for a long time. That's my NMLS number if you want to look me up. As far as my licensing in the mortgage space is concerned, it's 155010. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one.